This is 7 News at 4.
First here at 4 o'clock, we have the very latest on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian officials say 5 people were killed in attacks at Kyiv's main TV and radio tower. Others were hurt in the attacks, and Ukrainian channels briefly stopped broadcasting.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky speaking before the European Union today, asking them to allow his country to join the EU. Zelensky is also urging President Biden to provide a strong and meaningful message in his State of the Union address tonight. President Biden sharing this photo of a call he had with Zelensky. He says they discussed the United States' continued support for Ukraine as the country defends itself against Russia. He also said the U.S. will hold Russia accountable.
Today, 31 countries agreed to release 60 million barrels of oil from strategic reserves. It's a move that could help counter those rising gas prices that we're seeing around the globe. But Russian troops continue to move into Ukraine.
The country's capital is preparing for a major Russian attack. Now, we have reporters stationed from Boston to the nation's capital all the way to Lviv, Ukraine, covering the invasion. 7's Dan Houser is live in D.C. to kick off our Team 7 coverage this afternoon. Dan.
Well, Justin and Jadian, you know, a State of the Union speech is often tweaked right up to the last minute, but this one had to be ripped apart in the last couple of weeks because a major part of it right up front is going to be all about Ukraine. President Biden trying to rally the nation and rally the world behind Ukraine's defense. A Russian missile attack on a government building in Ukraine, causing a deadly explosion in the country's second biggest city. Pictures show the aftermath of that strike in Kharkiv, rubble scattered through the torn-up building and the streets around it. Ukraine's President Zelensky calling the attack frank, undisguised terror and a war crime. Another attack Tuesday, further intensifying Russia's Ukraine invasion, this time in the country's capital, Kyiv. The area around a major TV tower in Kyiv hit by military strikes. A Russian convoy 40 miles long is still making its way to the capital, raising fears over potential siege tactics. And Russia may have a new battle ally. Ukraine's parliament claims the country of Belarus has joined Russia in the invasion for a new round of attacks. Despite the onslaught, the Ukrainian people are continuing to fight back. Here, a group of citizens charging a Russian vehicle, piling onto its hood and waving their country's flags. As the war rages on, Russian state media claims a second round of talks will happen tomorrow. The two countries met yesterday with no outcome.
First of all, everybody has to stop fighting and to go to that point from where it was beginning. If those side is ready, it means that they are ready for the peace. If they don't ready, it means that you're wasting time.
And do you think you're wasting your time, or do you think they're ready?
We'll see.
Global oil prices already high after last week's bombing of Ukrainian oil facilities, surging to new highs this afternoon. An announcement by the U.S. and allies in dozens of countries. They'll release 60 million barrels of oil from reserves to help curb the spike. But it's not enough to cool the markets. And the U.S. giving half of that amount, 30 billion gallons from the oil reserve, to help tide the world and the nation over during this conflict. We're live in the Capitol. Dan Housley, 7 News.
And Dan, with the invasion creating fears about the cost of gas around the world, do you expect that plus the rising cost of other items to be a major topic for the president tonight in his State of the Union address?
Certainly, the president always likes to talk about what he says are kitchen table issues and say how his own personal experience lends him to be very sympathetic with Americans. He'll let them know what he plans to do to make things better. Tonight's address expected to focus on inflation and the economy as the country tries to recover from COVID-19. President Biden also set to highlight what he sees as his administration's accomplishments during his first year in office. It's been a challenging year, and the president's ratings are down. What do you see him doing?
I think this president's going to deliver a confident, strong message about how we're putting COVID behind us, a strong economy ahead of us, and how we're protecting democracy at home and abroad.
The president could talk about his recent nomination of Ketanji Brown Jackson to be the first black woman to sit on the Supreme Court.
His most important audience is the American people.
The speech is also a prime opportunity for President Biden to lay out his domestic priorities for 2022.
I think the reality is that most Americans are probably paying closer attention to the cost of gas and groceries than they are to Putin's invasion of Ukraine.
Capitol Police here have once again put up a fence around the Capitol grounds ahead of tonight's event. The fencing, an effort to heighten security and prepare for possible protests by big rig truckers coming to the Capitol to protest the administration's handling of the pandemic. Police say a call for help has gone out to outside law enforcement agencies as well as the National Guard.
I want to be very clear that we are prepared to take swift law enforcement actions for violations of our local and federal laws if necessary.
And one difference you may notice inside the hall tonight is a lot of the lawmakers won't be wearing masks. They are optional this year. The attending physician of the Capitol made that decision just 2 days ago. The White House says it was not involved and this was not a political move. They say the officials were simply following the science. We're live in the Capitol. Dan Housley, 7 News.
And Russia is already claiming to control several areas in Ukraine, and civilians who have not evacuated yet have started fighting back against Russian troops themselves. 7's Adam Williams joining us live in the newsroom with more on this. Adam.
Jadian, here's a look at where things stand in Ukraine at this hour. Russia has occupied territory in that country as far north and west as Chernobyl. Cities like Odessa and Lviv have not yet been taken over by the Russian military, though. And there's shocking new video of nearly 24 Ukrainians fighting back against Russian forces. They have no weapons, but they charged a Russian army vehicle trying to stop it from entering their area. This is outside of Kharkiv. People also fighting back in a city along Ukraine's southern border, some lying down in the street, right in the middle of the road to block Russian military vehicles from entering their city. Some led the protest in songs and prayer, hoping that both countries can find peace and find it soon. Live in the newsroom, I'm Adam Williams, 7 News.
Adam, thank you. And here at home, this invasion is impacting people who live here but are from Russia. Local business owners say they're afraid of retaliation for the actions being taken overseas. 7's Sam Bleiweiss live for us in Alston with that part of our coverage today. Sam.
Well, Jadian, I spoke with a number of local business owners and workers here today who say that they're worried that by selling Russian products, they could lose business by association. But this supermarket here behind me is taking a stand today by dropping certain items from their shelves.
It's a very, very hard time for everybody right now, for us as well. And we decided we can't just, keep silence.
This sign taped to the front door of the Bazaar Market in Alston, telling customers the store will no longer import Russian goods and products.
International Natural Bakery we work with.
Sabina Reutman is one of the owners. She says this was a decision they made as a group in support of the Ukrainian people.
It's sad and it's hard. And I know, I don't know why these people deserve it. They don't deserve it, and it's not fair.
Reutman moved to the U.S. from the former Soviet Union state of Moldova in 1991. She says many of the employees of the group's 4 area stores have ties to both Russia and Ukraine.
Knowing that it might be their parents or their sisters and brothers who are in the middle of this conflict, not wanting to be involved. And the same from the other side. It's just, it's very painful.
Reutman says her customers have been supportive, but even in this area with a number of stores that serve an international community, many people who have ties to Russia are not willing to talk on camera, scared to add their voices for fear of association with the Russian government.
This is the reason why we left this country so many years ago, even before Putin. This is why, unfortunately, this is what it is.
Well, we talked to a number of women here who work in this area in supermarkets just like this one, who were not wanting to comment on camera, fearful even for their own safety, but they were all adamant that they do not agree with what Russia is doing in Ukraine. We're live tonight in Alston. Sam Bleiweiss, 7 News.
And taking a live look right now in Ukraine, it's just past 11 o'clock at night there in Lviv. At this moment, and we want to head out to Atika Schubert, who's live in Lviv. And Atika, we've seen some video of Ukrainian civilians fighting back against Russia. We know you're in the western part of the country, so what are you seeing where you are at this time?
Well, where we at, it's relatively safe and secure, although we did have air raid sirens earlier this morning, and there have been an uptick in missile strikes even in western Ukraine. In fact, according to a U.S. defense official, they believe more than 400 military strikes have been launched onto Ukraine since the beginning of the invasion. But Lviv is where tens of thousands, really, refugees have been arriving every day here, mostly on the highways, but also the country's overwhelmed train network. Trains just jammed with people coming in every hour here, most of them trying to cross the border into either Poland, Hungary, or Romania. And the UN has said that already more than 675,000 have crossed over, but that number could go up to 4 million. So it is a massive humanitarian crisis unfolding here.
And Tika, you mentioned the numbers. You also mentioned how the trains are jammed tight there where you're at in Lviv. What other challenges are many refugees facing right now trying to get out of Ukraine?
Well, the biggest challenge is simply getting to the border and across the border. The thing is, every single person needs to have their passports checked before they cross. The Ukrainian border authorities are being very strict to make sure that no Ukrainian men between the ages of 18 to 60 cross the border. They're supposed to be signing up for the territorial defense forces here. And so as a result, the lines are really long, and some people have been camping out for hours, if not days, in sub-zero temperatures by the border. So it's an absolutely grueling and exhausting journey. And then, of course, even when they cross, they don't know when they're going to get home, and that uncertainty is what's really the hardest for so many.
Tika Schubert for us live this evening in Lviv, Ukraine. Tika, thank you. And stay at the news station for the latest on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We'll have updates on air, online, and inside the 7 News app. And when President Biden delivers his State of the Union address, you can watch it live right here on 7 News. It's set to begin at 9 o'clock. Dan Housley will be there with live reports continuing throughout the day.